Welcome back to the Israel Strategy Conference 2022. And now I am speaking with Sheen Levine of the University of Texas at Dallas, Columbia University, and Rennes Business School in France. And he's going to talk about a very interesting paper that he presented at the conference. So Sheen, welcome.
Happy to be here.
Great to talk to you. Give us a little overview of your paper and talk a little bit about what motivated this paper.
So men and women work together more often than ever. There's still a bit of segregation in the labor force, but we see men and women are far more likely to meet each other at the workplace compared to previous decades. Of course, socially, it's also desirable. We make every effort to increase gender equity in the workplace. And so we are asking to what extent men and women work well together in groups, and what are the hurdles for gender cooperation in the workplace?
Nice. And can you tell us a little bit about the context of your study?
So there's been a lot of work that looked at gender behavior in groups. We take an original angle by asking to what extent people vary their contribution to the group effort depending on the gender makeup of the group. Specifically, is this a group that is made of people of the same gender as me, or is this a diverse gender group? Now, a diverse gender group are ideal, are desirable, but we find that people reduce their contributions when they're in a diverse gender group compared to being in a homogeneous, in a segregated gender group.
That's interesting. So when you say reduce their contributions, how is that measured?
So we're using a workhorse of experimental economics and psychology. It's a public's good game, which is similar to many situations in life. Whether you're a student working on a project, whether you're an employee in a team, there's always a person that contributes less than others, yet shares in the result. So the experimental method that we use simply recreates this in the lab. People receive a sum of money that they get to take home, and they can decide how much of this money goes to the group account, in which the money is multiplied, but is then shared by all of the group members. And they can decide how much money to keep in their personal account, in which they don't share, and they get to keep it. And what we see is that when men are exclusively with other men, they tend to contribute more to the shared group account. When women are with other women, they tend to contribute more to the shared account. But when you start mixing up the genders, everybody reduces their contributions. Now, because men tend to give less to begin with, and they further reduce their contributions in the presence of women, women tend to end up with the lowest take-home amount when they're in mixed gender groups. So one not so happy conclusion of our study is that actually both genders are better off as individuals. Both men and women are better off being in gender segregated groups. Both of them will take home more money if they remain separate from the other gender. Of course, that's not a good policy. That's a terrible policy. It contravenes the law. It's socially despicable. So what can be done to reverse the tendency of people to reduce their contributions in the presence of members of the other gender?
Okay, that's great. And so I was going to ask you, why should we care about this research? So tell us a little bit about what you think should be done.
Yes. So when we saw these results, we were, of course, very disappointed, right? Because it's not good.
Right.
So we started to look for ways to reverse this tendency. And one thing that came to our aid was that we realized that the behavior of males, although I told you on average they reduce their contributions, actually this average hides a lot of variance in how men behave. So men, unlike women, meant to be more of extreme types. They either contribute a lot or they contribute nothing. So the average is really average of two populations. And so we thought, what happens, or how could we select those men who contribute a lot and leave out the men that contribute nothing? So, well, you can't ask people up front, are you going to contribute a lot or are you a free rider, right?
Right.
You can't do it ex post. So what we thought is, what if we ask people to pay for the right to choose the gender of their counterparts? Wouldn't those that are actually interested in contributing to the group work would be willing to pay to choose? And wouldn't they choose women because they expect women to be more cooperative? So we started in a small scale experiment in which we introduced essentially a ticket. And if you pay a substantial amount, about 10% of your earnings, you get the right to choose whether you want to be, as a man, you want to be with females or you want to be with males. And we found that those males that paid, few paid, but those that did pay behaved completely differently. They contributed more, they were more likely to reciprocate the contributions of others, and they behaved more fairly towards their counterparts.
Right.
Now, interestingly, most of those males that paid chose females as their counterparts.
Right.
They did not pay to be with other males, they
Right.
paid to be with other females. We saw these results, we were encouraged, and then we took it to a very large study involving over 1,600 working age Americans to see if the results holds in a much larger sample with pre-registration and open data and open instruments, and it did. So one antidote to this tendency is let people choose their counterparts, but make them pay for choosing their counterparts. Cause them to incur a cost in the selection.
Very interesting. So thanks a lot for talking with me today. A very interesting paper, and good luck with it.
Thank you for having me, Chris.